Welcome to Janus Corporation's Emergency Action Plan Training. The purpose of Janus Corporation's Emergency Action Plan Training is to facilitate and organize employer and employee actions during workplace emergencies. The Emergency Action Plan is reviewed with employees on each job site at the start of the project. Employees may have a written copy of this plan upon request. In the event of a fire on a project site, if the fire is inside containment, activate any nearby emergency fire alarm or alert and report the fire to coworkers immediately. If safe to do so, attempt to extinguish small controllable fires. Use a fire extinguisher from within containment or use a hose or sprayer with water. Evacuate the area as quickly as possible, whether you are able to extinguish the fire or not. Warn others to exit containment as well. All work should stop until cause of the fire has been determined. If fire is not controlled quickly, exit containment as quickly as possible. Again, instructing others to exit as well. Do not remove your respirator. It won't protect you from the heat or the flame, but it can help reduce the smoke you may inhale. If necessary to ensure worker safety, plastic enclosure barriers may be violated and decontamination procedures may be bypassed. Once out of containment, or you were not inside containment when the fire started, and you are not in immediate danger, call 911. If safe to do so, attempt to extinguish small controllable fires. We can not only be concerned with our own safety, but the safety of others in the building as well. Pull the fire alarm and notify building management. If fire is not immediately controllable, evacuate the area. Notify other building occupants and assure evacuation of the building. Do not use the elevators. Because Janus Corporation works at a variety of different locations, it is important to incorporate the building owner's emergency procedures into our plan. Each project should have a rallying location where every Janus employee meets in order to assure everyone has exited the building. Questions to think about when dealing with the fire. Can the fire be put out with extinguishers? Is the air currently safe to breathe? Is the environment safe to be in? Not too hot or too smoky? Do not wear disposable coveralls when fighting a fire. They could melt. Is there a safe evacuation path? If all answers are yes, then the fire can be handled. If any answer above is no, or the conditions change for the worse, evacuate the area immediately. In the event that there is a loss of power, if air-supplied respirators are used, switch to the egress or escape HEPA filtration incorporated in the mask. If available, switch to an emergency power source to maintain negative pressure within the work enclosure. Leave the work area through the decontamination chambers and notify the building manager and/or facilities department. If emergency power is not available, the decontamination unit and loadout doors must be sealed to minimize the migration of contaminants out of the containment. Use the building emergency exit signs and flashlights to find your way out of the building and to Janus's rallying location. The emergency action plan, injury or accident response. Determine the extent of the injury. If the accident is minor, immediately administer first aid. Alert or report the injury to the supervisor immediately. Call 911 if ambulance or other emergency vehicles or personnel are needed. Be sure to give the operator the following information when calling: your location, address, and city, exact location in the building, the room or the floor number that you're on, phone number from where you are calling, typically that might be your cell phone, your name, a brief description of the injury. Always listen to the instructions of the 911 operator. If an ambulance is not needed, the supervisor will escort the injured party for any medical examination or treatment. In the event of an injury requiring medical attention, operations manager or safety officer must be contacted immediately by phone. Injuries must be reported to the appropriate regulatory agencies, including Cal OSHA. If the accident involves a particular material, such as a solvent, find its safety data sheet in the job box. If feasible, initiate response procedures listed for the type of exposure and either take with the employee to the hospital or give the SDS sheet to the paramedics. If a fire department has responded, give a copy of the SDS sheet to the fire personnel as well. During an earthquake, remain calm. Think through the consequences of any action you may take. Get under a desk, a table, or in a corner away from a window or in a strong doorway. Stay away from glass, windows, mirrors, etc. Do not run outside or dash for exits. Do not use elevators. If you leave a building, choose your exit carefully. Remember, in a crowded area, many people will have the same idea and will be trying to get out at the same time. If outside, avoid high buildings, walls, power poles, and other objects which could fall. Do not run through the streets. If you are driving at the time, pull over and stop. After an earthquake, check for injuries among the crew. Do not attempt to move seriously injured persons unless they are in immediate danger of further injury. Check for fire or other hazards. Do not touch downed power lines or objects in contact with downed power lines. Immediately clean up spilled solvents or other potentially harmful materials. Inspect all equipment. Do not eat anything from open containers near shattered glass. Do not spread rumors or go wandering around. Anticipate aftershocks. In the event of evacuation for any reason, proper procedures must be followed. A disorganized evacuation can result in confusion, injury, and property damage. In general, an evacuation is necessary if staying in the building is not safe. Watch for others that may be left behind or need assistance in the evacuation process. Upon mobilization at the job site, a tailgate meeting is conducted detailing the safest escape route. Designated employees may remain behind briefly to operate fire extinguishers or shut down gas and/or electrical systems, and other special equipment that could be damaged if left operating or create additional hazards to emergency responders, such as releasing hazardous materials. In the evacuation process, everyone should make their way to the rally location as quickly as possible. This is often the Janus dumpster or the staging area, though it may be different on various projects. It is the project supervisor's responsibility to account for all employees. They must take a head count after the evacuation and identify the names and last known locations of anyone not accounted for and pass that information to the officials in charge. Do not re-enter the premises until re-entry approval has been given by fire department or other authorized emergency personnel. While each supervisor and many workers are trained and authorized to administer first aid, Janus Corporation relies on local public resources to provide specialized services for rescue services, medical duties, and firefighting. Emergency action plan, things to remember. When determining whether to fight a fire or evacuate, you must determine if the fire is too big to extinguish with a hose or fire extinguisher. When a fire occurs, you should exit containment even if you put the fire out. When evacuating a building, you must get to the rallying location to be accounted for. Otherwise, rescuers may enter the building looking for you. That is not good if you are no longer in the building. Janus employees with first aid training can apply first aid. For more serious injuries, Janus leaves medical treatment to first responders and medical personnel. When water escapes from containment, we clean it up immediately. When area is dry, we mop and heap vacuum the area again. During an earthquake, get under a table, a desk, or a counter. After the earthquake is over, expect aftershocks. Thank you for taking emergency action planning training. Please proceed to the quiz.